Bye. She's sicky. All right, guys, welcome back to Dear Best Friends. We're here. We're back on episode 5, I think it is, and we've got some really exciting stuff lined up. But just before we get started, I just wanted to remind everyone to please reach out to those that you love. I know that this seems out of the blue, but recently, this last week, I lost my grandmother, which has been kind of heartbreaking, especially for my family who has already experienced a loss not that long ago. So this is just a reminder that, like, if you're holding a grudge or if it's someone you haven't talked to in a while and you've been meaning to talk to them, please talk to them. Okay, it means more to them than you think it does. I hadn't talked to my grandma in a very long time because of stuff that has happened when I was a little bit younger, so it just kind of ruined our relationship. But I reached out to her last week and I was just like, hey, I miss you, I love you. I know we haven't talked in a while, but I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And that meant the world to her. And now that she passed away, it means the world to me that I got to talk to her one last time. But not to bring the mood down. Or I'm here with my co-host, the lovely, the beautiful, talented Madison DeBell.
Heyo. Heyo.
I'm in a little bit of a different area today because, as you can see, I'm doing my sheets in my bed. So my bed's unavailable for me to be on right now.
Love it. Well, today, in honor of the fact that a week from today is the Oscars, I, a movie lover, like a very like next level movie lover, okay? Because Kaleigh loves movies too, don't get me wrong, but like I have a weird obsession with it almost in a way. Anyways, we're going to be going through the list of Best Picture nominees today. I'm going to give Kaleigh the synopsis. Now, to give you a little rundown, I have seen all of these movies now. I made my way down the list a couple weeks ago after nominations came out, and I've seen all these movies. And I've been keeping up with the awards season so far. And so I kind of, know which one might be, towards the top of the list of going to win. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about each of these movies today. I'm going to tell Kaleigh about them. And what I'm going to have her do is I'm going to have her guess what the movie's about based off of its title. And then I'm going to tell her what it's really about. And then once we make our way through the entire list, we're going to talk about which one we think should win based off of our own opinion and which one we think will win based off of how the awards ceremonies have gone so far this awards season and, based off of basically what the internet is saying.
How many of these movies do you think I've actually seen?
You've actually seen?
Yeah. You can say none. It's okay.
Maybe one. I'm shooting for maybe one.
Okay, cool. I did just see the new Batman movie by myself.
Same.
Queens, let me tell you, if you have never gone and see a movie by yourself, you have to try it at least once. This is something me and Madison do actually pretty often, is we'll go and see movies by ourselves and then we'll text each other about it afterwards.
Yep.
Or like she'll text me and I'll be like, I'm in the theater, I'm watching Batman by myself. She's like, let me know how you like it because I just saw it by myself. And like you just get more of the movie if you're by yourself without distractions.
You really do. Like it's just a whole nother experience. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain movies that warrant going with a group of people.
Like any horror movie ever.
Yeah.
Do not go see a horror movie by yourself.
I won't be, no. I very rarely will watch those in theaters. It's one of those things where I'm like, no, we're going to have a party at my house in the comfort of my home.
With all the lights on.
Yeah, I can leave all the lights on. Oh my word.
Or like even Batman felt a little intense for me to be there by myself. Like I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but like maybe this is one you might want to bring someone to. Unless you don't get spooked easily. I get spooked easily. I'm a little wiener. I'm a little wimp.
Same though. Like it's just how it is. It's just
so.
Alrighty, who's ready to get started?
Not me.
Okay, so first on the list for the 2020 Oscar nominees for Best Picture is Belfast. What do you think this movie is about?
It's a family of bells that are okay, so Belfast about this family of bells that are participating in Lent. And they've decided to give up jingling for 40 days.
I like this game.
Other than that, I really don't know.
Oh my gosh. Belfast is the name of a city in Ireland.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
So this movie
familiar.
Yeah, this movie is actually shot in black and white, which I thought was really interesting because it is about a young boy and his family, and they're working class people living in Belfast during the really, really rough late 1960s in Ireland. And there was a lot of just like social unrest and like religious things going on between, Catholicism and Protestants and that kind of thing. And so this movie literally just follows a family during how they handle those times in the late 1960s in Belfast. And the thing that I thought was really cool about it is Kenneth Branagh. He wrote it and directed it, and he based it off of his own personal experience living in Belfast in the late 1960s. So it's part nonfiction, part fiction. It's got like based on a true story, but not is a true story type vibes with it.
That actually sounds so sick.
It was really good. It was a little slow at first. It was one of those that like you kind of have to be really honed in and invested to get out of it what you're supposed to get out of it.
Yeah.
But I thought the acting was great.
I don't pay attention in movies very well. That's why I tend to go see them by myself.
Yeah, so that one, it's good. So if you get the chance, I think it's in Redbox right now. So if you just go and like rent it and watch it, it's one of those that's like, it was just a nice story, and I learned a lot of history by watching it because like I am Irish and my family comes from Ireland on my
Me too.
Mom's side. And there's a lot I don't know about what their life looked like. And so it's interesting to see it through the lens of other people who lived, near where my grandparents and great grandparents are from and what they went through and that kind of thing. So I enjoyed it. A little slow, but artistically and like the cinematography and the writing, I can understand why it's nominated for Best Picture.
Ireland is definitely on my bucket list of places to go.
Same.
So catch a special episode down the road, me and Madison recording it from Ireland.
Ireland? Yeah. One day it'll happen. Okay, so moving on. Next on our list is Coda. It's an Apple TV special movie.
It's about two bears that are brothers, and one of their names is Coda. And they sing this really cool song that's like, tell everybody I'm on my way. New places, new friends to see.
I'm thinking you're mixing it up with Brother Bear.
Oh, I knew that sounded familiar. No, Coda sounds like it'd be a movie based at least like in Alaska or something.
Okay. Coda is kind of a play on words in a sense, and it's also an acronym. So CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adults, but also CODA referring to the musical term.
Oh.
So this movie has been getting a lot of hype. A lot of hype. And I think
I've never even heard of it.
Part of the reason why it's done so well this award season is because they cast fully deaf actors to play the deaf characters, which very rarely in, movies, other than from when I think like A Quiet Place, that little girl, Millicent, she's also deaf. So, very few movies in the industry so far have done something like this, where they really are tackling a deaf person's story with actual deaf actors. So what they did was, it follows this family who own a fishing business.
Mm-hmm.
And by law, you can't be out on the boat without a hearing individual for safety reasons.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
exactly. And so Ruby, the daughter, she's the only one in her family who can hear. Everyone else in her family is full deaf, can't hear anything. So she has been helping with the fishing business by being the hearing individual on board. And she loves music and singing and wants to go to the Berklee College of Music. So she, her family's fishing business is going through a tough time. And when, they remember the law, you have to have a hearing person on board with you, blah, blah, blah. She finds herself in a position where she's got to choose between helping her family's business stay afloat or going to college and pursuing her love of music. It takes place in Massachusetts, so not Alaska, but similar vibes, just on opposite ends of the United States. But it's funny because, like, at first her parents, being deaf, have no idea she loves to sing. They don't understand her love of music. And then there's this one really powerful scene where she's auditioning and she's singing and signing, and her family's in the audience, and it was just really beautiful. But I think part of the reason why this is really getting so much hype is because we're constantly in this battle in the industry for representation. And this one is being heralded as like a big win for disabled individuals in the business. And so the guy who plays the dad, Troy Kotzer, he has won a BAFTA, a SAG, like he's won pretty much every award he's been nominated for, which is really cool. And then Marlee Matlin, or Maitland, actually, sorry, let me correct myself, Marlee Matlin. She can speak because I've seen her in TV shows before where she has spoken out loud. But I love that they allowed her to go back to her roots of signing and using that as her form of communication. On this production team, they had an entire team of real life CODAs, so children of deaf adults, that they used basically to help them be as accurate in the storytelling as possible and to make sure that they had interpreters around and things like that. And so it's really, I think, part of the reason why, when I look at it from a cinematography point of view, there's nothing really spectacular about the movie. I think it's just a story that kind of hit home and was very much a long time coming. And so now it's getting the attention it deserves and needs because of that.
It's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember in the Eternals, they had a deaf actress in there.
Yes, Lauren Ridloff.
Something really cool that AMC did is once that show came out, that was like kind of the launch of their new thing where they have special showings now that have subtitles for people with hard of hearing and like hearing defects. So that's like another thing that's really cool. So it's kind of nice to be at the age where we can recognize that these changes that should have happened a long time ago are finally happening, and we can be a part of it, and we can stand up and we can support them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and don't get me wrong, the acting was really well done. Troy Kotzer deserved every award he got, but it is one of those that I think is, in a sense, an honorary nominee because of the fact that there were so many other moments in cinematic history where we should have been casting disabled individuals to play disabled people.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when Sia made that movie?
I don't even want to talk about it.
She cast Maddie Ziegler as an autistic girl, which is,
you can't cast a neurotypical individual as a neurodivergent. You can't. That's not.
If you know Maddie Ziegler, like, she's a beautiful girl and a wonderful actor, but that role was not for her to play. And Sia should not have done that just because Sia and Maddie are friends.
Well, and that wasn't even the biggest problem. The biggest problem was there was a scene in the movie where they show an adult restraining her in the middle of having like an episode.
Yeah.
And never, ever, ever take away the consent of an autistic child and restrain them like that. Ever. Like, I hate that movie. I hate that movie.
I just I never watched it because my mom's an occupational therapist, so her job is to work with autistic kids, and she is such a wonderful like person, and she just does so well at her job. So I was just like, there's no way I can watch that knowing like that that's not real when there's other people who could have done it and deserve that
Yeah.
role.
Yeah. So I was just honestly really happy when I saw that they cast deaf actors to play deaf people. Like it was really nice.
Yeah.
Next on the list is Don't Look Up.
Wait a second. That do be sounding kind of familiar.
It's a Netflix movie, not released in theaters.
Oh, then I don't know if I saw it, but that okay. So hear me out. That title right there sounds scary. That sounds like a little bit of a nope, I got the wrong vibes. But when you're like sitting there talking to someone, you're like, don't look up. Like that's what I feel like. It's a horror movie, but by Madison's reaction, I know that it's not. Okay, let me think. It's about this kid who's on his way to school with his mom, and they get in a car wreck, and he has to wear a neck brace, and he can't look up. And so his mom feels bad that she did that. So she's like, okay, everyone in the family, don't look up until he can, you know?
Wow, we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. No,
Nailed it.
So Don't Look Up is a Netflix movie that was so beyond stupid. I watched it with my sister. It was meant to be stupid because it was meant to be satirical. It's basically detailing climate issues and political problems of today's world, but in the most ridiculous way possible. Like Meryl Streep is the president, and Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are.
You know that movie? I've seen the trailer with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, they're astronomers.
Ariana Grande's in it. Yeah, there's no way I would have ever watched that.
No, they literally just basically make fun of everything that's wrong in our world today. So like there's a comet headed straight for the earth because of climate change, and then with politics they try to go and tell the president like we need to evacuate people, and she's like, oh, we're fine, blah blah blah, blah. Like doesn't
Nobody
care at
cares.
all. And then there's Ariana Grande, who's like being an influencer basically, and like they're making fun of influencers, and Timothy Chalamet's, and it's a star-studded cast with the most ridiculous movie plot of ever. Like I laughed through the whole thing. Don't get me wrong, it was hilarious, and it was meant to be a funny way to talk about all the horrible things going wrong. And it was so ridiculous.
But nominated for an Oscar, good?
No. It's nominated for an Oscar for similar reasons as to other movies in the past, where if it wasn't going to get nominated for an Oscar, the Academy was going to hear from people about how we're not having the important questions regarding our politics and climate change. That is why it got nominated for an Oscar. It is not up for debate. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but after having watched it and seen all of the conversations surrounding it, I really do not think. Anyways, moving on. Next one. Drive My Car. This movie is dubbed in English, so it's not an English movie.
I'm gonna say it's a Japanese movie.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay, so I'm really gonna pull from my knowledge of Squid Games here, right? As an English dubbed foreign TV show. Because I love the Japanese, but they make some of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. Okay, say the title one more time. Don't drive my
car.
Oh, Drive My Car.
Drive My Car. Literally just Drive My Car. And the poster for the movie is a guy leaning up against a red car.
Good to know. So there's this woman in her apartment, right? She's like sitting there and she's like, oh, I could really go for that Japanese sushi, but I recently broke both of my legs. And so she's like wondering how could she get this sushi, because she is like so hungry and she lives alone. So she gets on her little crutches or wheelchair. I don't know what they do when they break both their legs. And she ventures out into her apartment building and knocks on door. And there's this guy that she finds. She's like, yo, dog, if you go and get me some sushi, you can use the extra money to buy you sushi. And he's like, oh, dope. That sounds great. And she's like, okay, drive my car though. Okay. And he's like, oh, okay, got it. So he drives her car to a restaurant, grab some sushi, come back, and they're on a date and they fall in love.
That was
And
quite a story.
He nurses her back to health while her legs are broken. And then he dies in a fiery car crash in her car.
Oh my word.
That's the end.
I'm going to read you a synopsis that somebody else wrote because this movie's 3 hours long. And so the way
they think they are? Batman?
Yeah. The way that this person wrote it actually gives you the gist of the movie pretty well. So 2 years after his wife's unexpected death, Yusuke Kafuku, a renowned stage actor and director, receives an offer to direct a production of Uncle Vanya at a theater festival in Hiroshima. There, he meets Masaki Watari, a taciturn young woman assigned by the festival to chauffeur him in his beloved red Saab 900. As the production's premiere approaches, tensions mount amongst the cast and crew, not least between Yusuke and Koshi, not going to try that last name or I'll butcher it, a handsome TV star who shares an unwelcome connection to Yusuke's late wife. Forced to confront painful truths raised from his past, Yusuke begins, with the help of his driver, to face the haunting mysteries his wife left behind.
Wait, that kind of sounds really good.
It was really good.
Well, also, I wasn't that far off.
No, you weren't. So this guy loses his wife. He gets an offer to go direct a show. He goes. The people at the festival give him a chauffeur, this woman.
On his way, he gets stopped and asked for some sushi. So he's like, okay, I'll go run that errand real quick.
For sure. So this woman drives him around in his car, and he ends up working on this production with a young actor who had some connections with his late wife. And so with the help of his chauffeur, they drive around and they, uncover some mysteries that his late wife left behind. But
okay, but did they fall in love?
Guess you'll just have to watch and see.
Where can I watch it?
What?
Where can I watch it?
HBO Max. If you don't have HBO Max, I can give you my login.
Oh, sounds good. Give it right now over the air where everyone else can also get your login.
You're hilarious. No, thank you. Okay, next on the list, Dune.
I've seen it. I know what that movie is.
I told you there was at least one on this list that you knew, and it was either going to be Dune or it was going to be West Side Story. But then I remembered you told me you hadn't seen West Side Story yet, so
I'll watch it after this.
Please.
Okay, but so Dune. I don't know if I can explain this well, but I've seen the movie twice. I saw it 2 days in a row, and the first time I saw it was in theaters, and I was wildly confused on what was going on. But basically, there's this, how do you say, like, family that rules over this.
A royal family, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a royal family. Yes, that's what it is. I was like, so it's the House of Atreides?
Atreides. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I can't believe I got that right. They get a decree from the emperor, I think it is, and they're like, hey dogs, y'all gotta go to this planet that is a complete desert and so hot with like no water, and we need you to, what were they sent there to do exactly? Were they sent to like get it back up and running so they could collect the dust?
No, so Dune is confusing. It leads you to believe that the Emperor sent them there to take Arrakis from House Harkonnen and take control, but really it was a death sentence. Yes. The Atreides house was getting too powerful, and the Emperor got worried, and so he thought, if I send them there to take this back from House Harkonnen, they're going to start a war with House Harkonnen, and Atreides will be wiped off the map.
Yeah, but that didn't happen. Also, the Emperor is gross. And basically, and then all while this is going on, this is centered around the son of the house leader,
Duke Leto. Well, the dad's name is Duke Leto.
Yeah.
Paul is the son's name.
Okay. I always thought Paul was just such an interesting choice for a name, like House of Atreides and like stuff like this. And like,
my name is Paul.
Paul. And so Paul is like having these visions of like stuff that's going on Arachid. And so while they're all sleeping, like the dad gets woken up in the middle of the night and he's trying to help someone who's like covered in blood, and bam, he betrays him and stabs the dad. And then this
spoiler alert.
Oh yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, so basically they get attacked. Paul has to run with his mother. They escape. They meet these desert people, and that's where it ends.
The Fremen. Yeah, they become one with the Fremen.
But he meets this girl that he's been having visions of, who we
Shani.
all know is played by the beautiful Zendaya. Which, if you've ever seen the trailers, they make it seem like Zendaya is like in a lot of it. She's in 10 minutes of this movie.
Not even 10 minutes. It's 7 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay.
Which is
literally
ridiculous.
They meet, right? And then it's like the end.
The end. Well, okay, here's the thing. As someone who's read the book, there's so much that goes on in that book. And so Denis Villeneuve, who directed this movie and wrote the screenplay, this has been his like one dream job for as long as he can remember. So he wanted to do it justice. So he split the book in half, essentially.
It's his love child.
It is. So he split the book in half. So Zendaya's character, Chani, is a huge, and I mean huge, like more important than Paul, in the second half of book one.
Yeah.
So the next movie, she's going to be literally in the whole thing. Whereas in this movie, they 100% used her to promote it, but she's only in 7 minutes of it. But I'm like, you know what? Use her. I don't care. Like,
worth it, queen.
Oh yeah.
She's the reason why I wanted to watch it. But I knew she wasn't really going to be in it. I know that she's more a prevalent character in the next movie. But I'm like, I just don't want to wait that long for the next movie.
You know, they're going to start shooting it after Zendaya shoots the movie she's working on now with Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. So
what movie is she working on right now?
I'm so excited for it. It's called Challengers. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, and it's about tennis players.
Oh,
so Zendaya is married to Mike Feist, who is one of my favorite Broadway actors, theater actors, you know, literally ever. I love that man. So the fact that him and Zendaya are going to be married and have a child together makes me happy. And then there's Josh O'Connor. You may have seen him on The Crown. He's phenomenal. He plays Zendaya's ex-love and her husband's ex-best friend. And they both pursue tennis, and they met her because she was a world tennis championship when she was like a kid. And so she ends up getting injured and never getting, you know, better. And so she marries Mike Feist's character Art and coaches Art to become one of the best tennis players. Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor, gets his heart broken by her. Something happens between him and his best friend. He goes on his own little journey and just doesn't do as well. And so then years down the road, Patrick and Art end up having to face off against each other at some tennis charity event. And anyways, I'm very excited. They're in Boston right now doing pre-production. They start shooting in May. They're going to shoot it May, June, July. And then she will go and start shooting Dune 2.
So. Can I tell you the cruelest joke I think that's ever happened?
Oh no, what?
My grandma made a Facebook page like forever, like actually not that long ago. And as soon as she made it, she like got hacked. So every so often I get friend requests from her. And I just got a friend request from her, even though she passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So whoever is doing it, knock it off, because it's not cool, man.
Well, speaking of tennis, the next movie on our list
is it King Richard?
King Richard.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I actually haven't seen this movie, but I wanted to. I never got around to seeing it.
HBO Max.
But it literally it's just telling the story of Venus and Serena Williams, their childhood and growing up. And oh my gosh, I'm literally blanking right now.
Will Smith plays the
Will
dad.
Smith plays the dad. That's what I was gonna say, but I couldn't remember his name for some reason. So I was trying to remember his children's names, and I was like Jaden, but what's Jaden's last?
Yeah, Will Smith plays the dad. He's nominated for quite a few awards. He's won one of them. So kudos to
It
you.
looked really good. So
I heard that it was good but slow. And then I watched it, and it depends really on kind of how much you like Will Smith and how much you like tennis.
I don't love tennis, but I think like watching what their childhood would have been like would be really interesting because obviously they grew up during a time where they would have been considered the underdogs.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because tennis is a predominantly white sport.
Yep.
White men love tennis, and I don't know why, but so I'm very interested to watch it at some point, just kind of to see what it was like, because obviously we'll never know that struggle as white women. We have been given a lot of privilege.
Well, and even in the you might know a little bit better than I do in terms of based off of where you grew up, but the story follows them training in tennis in Compton.
Ooh,
through
so like
violence and poverty, and there's all of these battles they had to fight, and the fact that their dad was willing to move heaven and earth for them so that he could write their names into history and make them amazing. And so it's a good movie. It's another one that's a HBO Max one. So
I mean, where I grew up has been nicknamed to Compton.
That's true.
I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, and if anyone ever mentions Tacoma or Spokane, it's either Spokompton or Tacompton, which is false because if anyone has ever traveled to Seattle, they know that Seattle is the root of all evil. I truly believe that. People are like, I love Seattle. I'm like, then you have never truly experienced Seattle.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
People are like, I love the Seattle Temple. I'm like, okay, newsflash, Seattle Temple, it's in Bellevue.
I was about to say it's probably in Bellevue, which is the really nice, rich area, and yeah,
and where all the old, like retired people live too. And so it's like a really nice, rich area. That's not Seattle. Go to downtown Seattle and tell me you won't fear for your life as a woman.
That's true. That's true. So King Richard, watch it, everybody. It was actually really good. Next on the list is Licorice Pizza.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I swear I've heard about this.
You probably have, because I think I talked to you about why I didn't like it.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I ever saw the trailer, maybe. But when you say Licorice Pizza, something like that, a name of another movie comes to mind, Peanut Butter Falcon.
Oh, I loved that movie.
I thought it was so weird, but it was like funny, but like it was just like it was interesting. I think it was a good movie and it was like funny, but some parts I was like, this is a little uncomfy. But Licorice Pizza is about this up and coming pizza store. And how are they going to set themselves apart from every other pizza store in Chicago? It's Chicago, for Pete's sake. So they start experimenting with different pizzas and they're like, oh my gosh, licorice pizza, this is crazy. And they try it out and it becomes a success and they become the most popular pizza place in Chicago, Illinois. And that is the true story of how licorice pizza in Chicago came to be. I'm a storyteller, y'all.
First off, licorice pizza is what people used to call vinyl records. Second off, this movie takes place in the 70s, hence why the play on the name of licorice pizza and vinyl records in the 70s. Third, it takes place in San Fernando Valley, not Chicago.
Chicago.
And lastly, this movie's about a 25-year-old photographer and her 15-year-old assistant in a semi-uncomfortable and awkward coming-of-age story where the 15-year-old falls in love with the 25-year-old.
Oh, I don't like that.
It ends up not crossing lines that you would be afraid it would cross. So that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. But it was Alana Haim's first acting gig. She did great. It's Paul Thomas Anderson film, so the cinematography was, of course, stunning. Alana Haim is one of 3 members of a sister band called Haim. I saw them in concert when they opened up for Taylor Swift on her 1989 tour, and now one of them is an actress, so that's cool. I thought it was really well done. I don't know necessarily if I would pin any of them for acting noms, more so than I would pin like Paul Thomas Anderson for like a writing nomination or a directing nomination. That kind of thing. It was interesting. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. Maybe once. But it was kind of one of those that just kind of fell a little flat for me. But okay, we've got 3 more. The next one is Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Not quite. Nightmare Alley.
Okay, so this is a story. This story about a little girl. She's 6 years old, right? You know, when we're all 6, we all have that like, Mommy, there's a monster under my bed. Except for me. I never believed in that crap, okay? I swear. But this little 6-year-old keeps having nightmares about an alleyway by her house that she walks by to get to school with her mom. But you know how like when you're little, you're like walking by an alley that's like dark and you're like, oh, that's scary. So she's having nightmares about this alley, and she's like trying to get up the courage to go into this alley in her dreams, and she just can't because she's afraid of what lies beyond the darkness. And so in real life, she has to conquer her fear of the alley and enter into the alley in real life, and then in her dreams she can do it, and she enters into it and it is full of monsters, but she befriends them because she's not afraid of them anymore. What a heartwarming story. I don't know where these are coming from.
I know, I'm like, I need you to write these down so that we can.
These are like gold ideas here.
So good. No, so this movie it's a Guillermo del Toro movie, so it's got that kind of like psychological thriller, dark, very type of, I don't know, just the way that he shoots his movies sometimes it's just with very dark colors, very dark tones. But it takes place in the 1940s. And it's about this guy who burns down his house. That's literally how the movie starts. He burns down his house. And then he picks up with a carnival. So basically like a traveling circus. And so all these different things happen while with this traveling circus, because everybody with the circus has their own set of issues. And so does this guy. Like he's like a big like manipulator and very secretive guy. And he starts to realize that like all the rest of them are like that too. They all have some kind of problem.
Yeah.
And so it just like follows all of their stories and different bad things that happen as they go through this traveling circus.
Is this kind of a scary movie?
A little bit, but not in the horror sense. It was really more just like thriller than
just because they're all kind of like weird and creepy.
Yeah. But it was good. I liked it. I thought it started off a little slow, but kind of once it started to get going a little bit, it was better.
Started off slow, dude. Burned his house down.
Yeah, but it's not like some big thing. He doesn't like speak or anything for like the first 15 minutes of the movie. Like it's literally he just very quietly collects his things, stands in the middle of his house, lights it on fire, walks outside. His house is in the middle of an empty field, mind you. So then he's like walking across this empty field, and then he's in New York, walking down the street. And it's like, it starts very like, what? But then once it starts to pick up and you start to realize like all of the things with all these other people, it's a little bit like, ooh, she a little sus. Ooh. Okay, 2 more. Next one is The Power of the Dog.
It's called The Power of the Dog?
It is literally called The Power of the Dog. It is a Netflix movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee.
Yeah, so what I thought of was the movie Dog with Channing Tatum. But okay, this also like that title gives me like Isle of Dogs vibe. I never watched that. I always thought it looked really weird though, so I kind of wanted to, but I never did. But The Power of the Dog is about I'm totally gonna plagiarize another movie. It's about Superman's super dog. It's an animated film. So cute, you know? Like, Man of Steel, but Man of Steel's dog, where's he at? What he's doing. And that's really what this movie focuses on. And he talks in it and he tries to, you follow his life of a super dog trying to make friends with other dogs. And it's just not working out for him. He can't relate. He doesn't really have the barking down. He has the speaking like a human down, but not the bark.
You could not be further from the actual story on this one.
Wait, but have you seen the trailer for that movie,
Yes,
Superman's
I
Dog?
have.
Okay,
Yes.
I don't know what it's called, but I think it looks so stupid.
Yeah. Well, Power of the Dog, it follows cowboys in Montana in the 1800s.
What?
Not the kind of cowboy you like, girlfriend. Not the kind of cowboy you like.
No need to
So
call me out like that.
Benedict Cumberbatch is a closeted gay man who had
Oh.
an inappropriate relationship with another adult gay man when he was still a minor. Essentially, he was groomed and taken care of by this individual. This individual dies, sends Benedict Cumberbatch's character kind of into a little bit of a spiral. While they're out on their, I don't know exactly what they call it, but they're riding their horses down to like the next set of cows or whatever, and they're looking for more cattle. They stop and stay at this one place, and Benedict Cumberbatch's character's brother meets Kirsten Dunst's character and her son. They get married, and essentially Benedict Cumberbatch's character treats Kirsten Dunst's son really poorly because he suspects the son is gay. And because he's a closeted man, he is having issues with that. And so he literally like treats him like crap. And then one day things kind of change. And Benedict Cumberbatch's character starts to treat the son like he was treated by the other adult man. So nothing really happens. This movie is so slow, and you really have to pay attention if you're going to understand what is happening. So the son goes along with it. And at first you think that the son wants it and is reciprocating feelings and whatnot, until the end of the movie. He asks Benedict Cumberbatch's character to finish making his rope for him because he's essentially teaching him how to be a cowboy. And so every cowboy's got to have his own rope, right? And his own lasso. And you can't make rope using infected cowhide with like your bare hands, because infected cowhide can make you very sick and you'll die within like a couple days. Anthrax, that's what you'll die from. And so Benedict Cumberbatch's character ends up with a cut on his hand, which would not be a big deal had the hide that the son gives him not been infected, which the son knew. Benedict Cumberbatch's character did not. And so he gives it to him full well knowing he's got a massive wound on his hand and it's going to go inside his skin. So Benedict Cumberbatch's character dies. And like one of the last things you see is the son looking out the window with a candle in his hand, like mischievously grinning. And that's when you realize the son knew all along what he was doing. And you're like, oh my God, oh my gosh. Like, very slow movie, very psychological, very much so a thriller. You don't know what's going to happen next. There's not a whole ton of music in the movie, so there's a lot of like silent moments. It was whack. It was a whack movie, but it seems to be one of the bigger front runners this year in terms of acting noms and director noms.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch played the character very well. He's a phenomenal actor. I've always thought that he was. because obviously Benedict is not like that in real life.
It's like, yeah,
he's a lovely human being. So, but
he's our homie, Dr. Strange.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's on Netflix. You should watch it at least once, but you have to be in a position to like pay attention and not fall asleep. Okay, the last one on our list, my favorite, West Side Story.
Ooh, ooh. So this is a Broadway musical. Is it a Broadway musical? Yeah, it's a Broadway musical that has been made into a film a couple of times, but this is the newest adaptation. And basically, I've seen West Side Story once. So basically, there's these two group of boys. There's like these white American boys, and there's this group of like Latino Hispanic boys. And these boys don't like these boys, so they're fighting. But it's like a classic Romeo and Juliet story. Because there's this Latina girl and this white boy that fall in love, but they don't like it and they don't like it. So they're intertwined, and then someone ends up dead. I won't say who.
Just someone.
Basically, I just remember there being this scene that's like prom where they're like dancing, and these two people are like, oh, and then they start dancing, and then the other people see and they're like, absolutely not. Because this girl has like an older brother that's protective, and he's like, you stay away from them white boys.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just really liked your explanation.
I just like putting it in terms that people can understand.
Yeah, so this is Steven Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story. Instead of remaking the 1961 film, he decided to go back to the 1957 Broadway show and take that source material and turn it into what he wanted to do. He had Tony Kushner as his screenwriter, who adapted the Broadway material phenomenally, gave some side characters more meaning and more backstory and kind of more depth, and the music is phenomenal. They cast all the right people. Honestly, I don't think they could have cast this movie any better than they did. And
Ansel, really?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
I'm gonna be real.
Doesn't he make music?
He does. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he went to school with Timothy Chalamet at LaGuardia High School.
Timmy T?
Yeah, they were like friends. Like they graduated together, and Ansel always beat Timmy out for the lead role in all of the musicals.
Oh, poor little Timmy T. I just remember, I think I a little while ago, like a year or two ago, I like listened to one of his songs and I was like, oh, okay, I can get down with this. And then I kind of like became obsessed with it for a hot minute. It's Thief.
Yeah.
By
I love that song.
Call me thief. There's been a robbery.
Yeah. Now, with this movie, I will go ahead and say that I think Mike Feist and Rachel Zegler were snubbed big time. I thought both of them deserved acting nominations from the Academy, and they didn't get them, and whatever. I'm going to move on eventually, but right now it's not that moment. David Alvarez.
Oscars are rigged.
They are. David Alvarez played Bernardo phenomenally. He won a Tony Award when he was 10 years old for playing Billy Elliot on Broadway. And then he joined the United States military at 18, served a couple of tours, came back, backpacked through Mexico for a couple of years. And that is when somebody reached out to him about West Side Story. He had left the showbiz industry completely. He was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. Like, I just want a regular life. And then Cindy Tolan, the casting director, reached out to him and was like, David, I would love to, this and this and this and this and this. And he was like, okay, whatever. He thought nothing of it. He thought, I'll go do it and I won't get it. And then he ended up getting it. So that's amazing. Ariana DeBose, who plays Anita, she has been nominated for every award under the sun and has won every award under the sun. So I 100% believe she's going to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. I loved this movie. The way Spielberg shot it, the production design team, I mean, the genius, freaking genius. Just everything about this movie, I don't think they could have done a better job. The choreography done by Justin Peck, who is a principal dancer at the New York City Ballet, is beautiful. And it's like you're almost watching them tell the story through dancing instead of through words, because dance is such a huge thing in West Side Story, and there's so two different distinct styles between the Sharks and the Jets, and you can tell, and it's so beautifully done. I could talk about this movie for hours and hours and hours and hours, because I just thought overall, like, there is not one flop about it. Normally when I watch a movie, I can kind of pinpoint a spot that is, maybe not the best, or maybe this, maybe that, but this movie, I literally can't find anything wrong with it. So it's a phenomenal movie. Now,
Granted, for context, Madison watches this movie at least 3 times a week.
You didn't have to expose me like that, but she's not wrong. It's kind of my source of inspiration right now. As I've talked about before, I'm a dance teacher. When I'm not feeling creative, I watch at least part of this movie, and it sparks some kind of idea, some kind of something in my brain. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to go. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I want West Side Story to win. I do not think it will. I want it to. And
I think Dune. My pick is Dune.
That makes sense. That's like the one movie on the list you've seen. Dune, is a close runner up for me with West Side Story, because I thought it was very well done. The cinematography is beautiful.
And just like the
Denis
entire
did a phenomenal job.
So beautiful.
Using practical locations. They shot all of the Arrakis stuff in Jordan. Like that, I just thought that it was very, very smart the way that he chose to do this movie. And you can tell that it was a labor of love. It's the same thing with Steven Spielberg. He's been wanting to make West Side Story since he was a kid. So I think that part of the reason why I love both of these movies is they were made with such careful consideration and such love for the craft and the passion and the story, that they did the best that they could, and it ended up being amazing. So that would be great. That'd be really great. I think Power of the Dog is going to win.
Really?
Or Coda. And that is another, it's, whether or not it quote unquote deserves to win for its cinematic greatness, I don't know. But they might have it win for reasons of representation, which I wouldn't be mad over at all. Like, not at all.
Okay. So do we still want to talk about male actor nominees and actress nominees?
Let me find my magical list.
Just read them off and I'll pick one.
Yeah. I
just kidding. For the male, it's going to be Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, so actor in a leading role nominees are Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. I want Andrew Garfield to win. I think Benedict Cumberbatch will win. Moving on. Actor in a supporting role nominees, Kieran Hines for Belfast, Troy Kotzer for Coda, Jesse Plemons for Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith-McPhee for The Power of the Dog. I want Troy Kotzer to win. I think Cody Smith-McPhee will win.
Interesting.
Actress in a leading role. Nominees are Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. I want Kristen Stewart to win. I think it will be between Olivia Colman and Jessica Chastain.
I don't have the best feelings towards Kristen Stewart.
I think she put a lot of work into her movie, Spencer. So I think, if this would be a movie, like out of all her movies to get an award for, I think she should get one for this.
Yeah, not Twilight?
No. Actress in a supporting role. The nominees are Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Judi Dench, Belfast, Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog, and Ingenue Ellis for King Richard. I want Ariana
the second
DeBose
one
to win. Yeah, I want Ariana DeBose to win. She's won every other award. She's had a clean sweep. I think she'll win the Oscar. But I think if anyone were going to give her a run for her money, it would be Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter. So Yeah, and then best directing nominees are Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story.
Steven Spielberg.
I want it to be Steven Spielberg. And if I'm being honest, it could go to anyone on this list.
Yeah.
It really could, because Jane Campion has won an award for Power of the Dog already in this awards season. Paul Thomas Anderson has a very specific Paul Thomas Anderson way of directing things, and Licorice Pizza was just another example of that. And people tend to like a good PTA movie. Ryosuke Hamaguchi, Drive My Car got nominated for like 9 or 10 Oscars, I think. And it was one of those that kind of just like crept in from behind and was like, I'm here. So that would be a cool upset to see Hamaguchi win for Drive My Car, but I have no idea. And then Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. He's always been a really great director. And I think the way that he chose to do this movie was smart. But
yeah,
it really could go to literally anyone on this list. So there you have it. Those are our quick run through of a couple of different categories for the Oscars.
If those movies don't sound interesting to you, hit me up and I'll tell you another story.
I'll tell you a better version.
My version.
So watch the Oscars or don't. Just, follow the Academy on Twitter and you'll see all of the results next Sunday.
I know I won't.
I watched the Oscars. That's like the one award
I've never watched an awards show.
I've really only watched the Oscars now that
I like thought about like I wanted to watch like the Grammys or the American Music Awards, and my mom's like, no. I was like, okay.
So wrapping it up today, what is your song of the week, Kaleigh?
Oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared. Sorry, that was a little okay. Actually, it's a country song.
Which one?
It's Buy Dirt by Jordan Davis and Luke Bryan.
What's it called?
Buy Dirt. Buy Dirt. Here.
I don't think I've heard that one.
You might. And your roots down deep.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've heard that.
If anyone has ever seen me on campus strutting, it's probably to this song, but also no, you didn't.
Oh man, my song this week is from the Write Out Loud 2021 EP, which is a Broadway songwriting competition. And one of the songs is called Vow, and it's sung by Derek Klena and Matt Pena, and their voices are unreal. Like just I'll give you a little sneak peek.
Give a little sneak peek.
Before you say the word, let me tell you why I do. When you laugh so loud, you apologize.
So that's
that's so cute.
It's really cute. It's essentially they're singing their wedding vows.
Oh,
and it's like really precious. So that's my favorite.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. Remember, shoot us a message on Instagram, Facebook. We just got a page up and launched. We haven't quite started advertising on it yet, but we will. But thank you guys so much for jumping in with us this week and hearing how my crazy head works. It may have just exposed my insanity, but we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go, mostly because this chair is very uncomfortable and my booty hurts a little bit.
Yep, pretty much. So remember to tell your loved ones you love them, tell your besties you love them, and don't be afraid to reach out.
And don't ever assume you know what someone's going through.
Facts. All right, love you, besties. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Love you. Bye.